There's a recurring question that I get from the clients I work with around the globe about willpower. A lot of times people ask me, how do you increase your willpower? Because I have these big dreams, there's things I want to accomplish, but there's days where I just feel like I can't get myself to do stuff. So how do I talk myself into having a higher level of willpower? And while there's no doubt that you can amp yourself up emotionally by doing things that reconnect to your pain or the things you fear, or connecting to the things you want and the pleasure by making it more vivid in your mind's eye. Essentially, in that case, we're talking about some things that you may have heard of through a pop psychology method called NLP. And there's definite truth to how the brain works internally. How our mind works is that if you bring something fresh and clear in your mind's eye, it has a more immediate impact on you compared to if it's just an abstract idea somewhere in the back of your thoughts, right? Because our attention is like a flashlight in a dark closet. You open the closet and you're shining the beam of your attention around inside that closet, like a beam that only lights up so much of the total contents of the closet at any one time. And that's kind of how our brains are, in the sense that we have the conscious awareness and then we have the subconscious, where there's just tons and tons of information available to us that we're not consciously thinking of at any given time. But the beam of our attention is like that flashlight looking around in a closet. And so if you bring something closer by vividly imagining the positive, beneficial outcome you want, or by envisioning the fearful scenario that you don't want to go toward, in either situation, you're using your attention as a light to bring up into your awareness something that makes it feel more real, and it starts to therefore impact your emotion, which makes it easier to take action. But today I'm going to tell you about a technique that's completely different than that. It's something that I have developed through years of working with people, way before I was even a coach to entrepreneurs on peak productivity and peak performance mindset and decision making. I used to work with the most difficult population or set of psychological disorders that exist. And I won't go into too many of the details about that, but I did a postdoctoral fellowship in something called DID, dissociative identity disorder. I was working on an inpatient psychiatric unit to help people who had dissociation that was so severe that sometimes they couldn't control when they were flipping between different self states, different ways of being, because they had developed this habitual way of responding to trauma that had formed in their mind at such an early age that they were now unable to always control whether it emerged or not. And so through that work and through work with people with depression, people who had anxiety, I gradually increased the focus I had on this unique technique that I want to share with you today about how to develop willpower using a different kind of strategy. It's the kind of strategy that you've probably used before. Intuitively, at a subconscious level, you know to do this. I just want to reawaken it and strengthen it in you. There may have been a time where you were standing on the edge of a cold lake and you wanted to jump in, you wanted to have that thrill of swimming in that lake, but you know that first shock when you jump into the water, and some part of you resists that. Standing on the edge of the lake, I've stood there and had this feeling of wanting to jump in, but some part of me emotionally not wanting to jump in. And what I've learned to do is help people to cause their legs to bend and themselves to leap forward even before you change the emotion that makes you want to do it. And so what it is, it's connecting you at a deeper level to the part of you that controls your actions and decrease your need to control the emotion first. Now this sounds backward, because mostly what we do is we try to motivate ourselves to start a homework assignment when we're in high school, and then later to get up and go to work, and then later, maybe as an entrepreneur, to really do the difficult mental work that is mundane and not as fun as networking or looking into something new, some shiny new object. But we know that this work right in front of us is what's going to propel us forward toward our goals. But it's hard sometimes to make yourself do that. So I'm going to tell you that there is a part of you that is able to take back control of your actions even before you feel motivated. Now, just recently I was doing some CE credits, continuing education credits required for me to maintain my license as a licensed clinical psychologist. And I was going through a course about ADHD for adults. And one of the interesting things that some of the more recent research has shown us is that of all the things that we wouldn't expect, one of the things that holds people with ADHD back from taking action, from getting stuff done, is perfectionism. Now, if you're like me, my first thought was perfectionism. Like, people who have ADHD are the ones leaving their clothes on the floor and putting things off and procrastinating and doing it last minute. They're not perfectionists. The perfectionists are these people that are just kind of like, well, some people used to call anal retentive, coming from the old psychodynamic psychotherapy mental model. People who are uptight and can't seem to relax and are always ahead of schedule. So why are we talking about perfectionism? Well, this is what the research shows us. What stops them from taking action is this feeling that I have to wait until my emotional state, my energy, my motivation, my mindset, my mood, everything is just right before I will try to do this difficult task of concentrating. As a result, you just continuously put things off and wait. And so what we found is that if you can get someone who has this tendency to procrastinate to overcome that perfectionism by, instead of waiting until everything's just right, to instead say, I'm going to take control of my action even though I don't feel right about taking action yet. And what's fascinating about this is that when you do this, you open up a whole new world of possibility for yourself to leap forward into action before you feel emotionally perfect about doing so. The reason it opens this whole new world of opportunity is because you suddenly start to see all kinds of places where you can apply this newfound power, this ability to get yourself to do things, whether it's getting up and going for a jog, or going out to the gym to lift weights, or paying your taxes, or sitting down to do that difficult copywriting task. All of those things that are there in front of you, available to push you toward your dreams, you can now choose to act on those, just like me standing at the edge of the dock, about to dive into that cold water. Or before you step into a cold shower, if you like to do any kind of cryotherapy, you might know that hesitation you feel right before you jump in. There's a part of you that's able to say, I know I will feel extremely uncomfortable, and step right into that cold shower water, or plunge your body into the ice-filled tub. Now, that part of you is something that can be developed like a skill. You can develop that ability to not wait until your emotion and your mood is in line with the action you want to take. You can actually train yourself to get better at essentially dissociating a little bit from the emotional need to feel just right, and instead take control of your actions. Now, you just want to make sure that you always use this form of dissociation toward something that your wise mind tells you is good for your life. So you don't want to do it to push yourself harder than is safe in sports or some sort of cryotherapy session or something like that. You always want to do it toward things like overcoming procrastination, something that's a clear win and it's healthy for you. So here's your challenge for this week. I want you to watch for this moment. You're going to notice it. At some point during this week, you're going to notice yourself procrastinating or not wanting to get started with something. You're going to think, I'm going to drink my coffee and wait for that to kick in before I start that difficult task. Or I'm not going to call that person and have that difficult conversation with them right now because I'm going to wait till I feel more confident. And instead, you're going to say, oh, wait, this is what Dr. Snyder was talking about. He was challenging me to watch for this moment and say, what if I was able to take the action even if I didn't feel like it yet, even if I hadn't already convinced myself emotionally to be ready and to desire that. Watch for that moment. Take the plunge. You'll unlock a new ability that you can grow and develop across the course of your lifetime. It will pay off. I'll talk to you soon.